Okay, we are live. Welcome, chess live stream. Here with Ben Johnson. I'm Nate Solon. So yeah, we do this every Friday. We go live and talk about chess with a guest. Today we've got Ben. We're talking. This is Blitz week. We're talking. We're going to be talking Blitz. We're going to be talking Ben's Blitz games.
Oh, it's so bad. It's so
Is it
bad.
really? Well, so we're going to get into that for sure.
Okay.
I
But
didn't
yeah,
think it was.
excited and happy to see some people walking, people coming in, Dalton, Kostya, Dan, perhaps on a moving train to channel Botvinnik. I don't know. I don't know if
I
I don't know if he's
wonder if
on.
anyone's on their way to Alto right now.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. But yeah.
Yeah, we'll maybe let some people get in here. See. Oh, Mark, awesome. So yeah, well, I'm interested to dig more into that because when you said it's terrible, I thought, your blitz rating is similar to your OTB rating. So I don't know if you would consider that good or bad or neutral. Hey,
I feel
Dalton.
like most people are a little higher rated in chess.com Blitz than their regular. So I'm for people listening, generally I'm like 2150 USCF and chess.com I'm also in the 2100s. I feel like most people are a little higher. I've also been higher. I mean not much,
Yeah,
but I've
it's
been.
certain. It's certainly possibly. I mean, my blitz rating is higher than my over the board rating, and you do see some people who are much higher. That's
Right.
possible.
Yeah, for sure. And I've always felt like I'm worse. Like I just am worse at Blitz. It's not, it's not a feeling. It's the truth. And I don't think age helps me in that regard. Like
Mhm.
it's not. I would have to work very hard to offset that. But that's some of what we'll talk about, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I think you can make some hay with your blitz if you want to. There's always so for especially for players who start as adults, which actually, I mean, that's not exactly you. You've got a background of playing chess, as a kid, as a teenager. Um, but especially for people who started as adults, often they lag behind in blitz. And I would say, well, like, definitely it's possible to improve at blitz if you want to prioritize that. But then you have to choose if you want to prioritize that, right? And most people say they don't.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely not prioritizing OTB. I think I told you this offline, but just for the people watching, a lot of it, as for many of us working family people, it comes down to circumstances with the kids and stuff like that. And my wife recently switched jobs where it would be hard for me to do the weekly game on a given day thing, given my new schedule. And weekend tournaments, I mean, you've written quite poetically about them, Nate. They're,
Yeah.
they're,
Well,
maybe I could
from
go
the with
through
the
your.
benefit of hindsight, from where I'm at now, some of my more pressing problems with weekend tournaments probably had to do with my own chronic illness, which was really not the tournament's fault. But I will stand behind that. I do think those time controls are way too long, across the board. Um,
Yeah,
Even though I had some problems with that were unusual, that really didn't have that much to do with it.
yeah, but they're also just grueling and expensive and all that
Yeah,
stuff. Um,
yeah. It
you
would
know,
be. It's like it's okay for chess to be fun. We could have some fun tournaments too.
yeah,
That would be fine. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's kind of rewind and because people have been coming in, so I'll sort of do a quick like re-intro. So we've got Ben Johnson, who of course is the host of the amazing Perpetual Chess podcast, and also has a newsletter. So for sure, subscribe to him. I write a newsletter called Tuition Zug, so we both do chess newsletters. So we're doing our Friday live stream, and the topic today is speed chess. So we're gonna dive into Ben's game and go under the hood and see if we can figure out, is there somewhere some areas to improve, or maybe some things we can all learn about blitz or speed chess. Uh, so that's going to be the topic today. I did want to, this week it's just unavoidable to talk about Daniel Naroditsky and just kind of acknowledge that that's something we're all thinking about and struggling with. He wasn't someone I ever met or knew personally, but he was someone I respected and admired a lot, and have definitely, I've been thinking about him a lot. I've talked to a lot of people, even people who didn't know him, who are like, having trouble sleeping and just really feeling incredibly upset, by this loss. So, Ben, did you know him at all?
So I met him at the Alto. So Alto is at least 21. These tournaments that they do in Charlotte that are a lot of fun, and they have like a drink night. So when I went a couple years ago, Daniel eventually made an appearance. Um, so I got to, and I had already interviewed him at that point. So in addition to a couple interviews, which anyone can hear, we Facebook messaged a few times, but nothing. I wouldn't say I knew him well. And meeting him was like I was super excited, obviously, to meet him. Massive fan of his. Um, and my only observations were just like, he's incredibly charismatic on stream and when commentating, but he's in this party full of chess people. He's naturally going to be the center of attention, and he didn't seem entirely comfortable being the
Huh.
center of attention.
Oh, that's interesting. So maybe the stream was actually a more comfortable venue for him, at least in that case.
Yeah, I think so. And I've read and watched so many. Oh, it was Grant, who of course runs the tournaments down in Charlotte, and grew up. He wrote a really poignant post on his Facebook and and Twitter talking about their friendship and described them as both introverts. So yeah, I mean, I think it's Danya, if you just see his online persona, you might not know that he was pretty reserved in person. But that was the only, like, I've only had tiny interactions with him in person, so that's the only color I can add.
Mhm. Yeah, I read Grant Owen, so Grant Owen, Grant OEN. Like if you search for that, you can find his post, and it's well worth reading. Yeah, that was a great one. And one thing about that one is a part of the twists and turns. This is all taken as this weird post that Emil Satoshki did, that the
Oh my goodness.
the president of FIDE sort of pointing the finger at Daniel's friends and supporters, bizarrely. But one thing you realize from Grant's post, someone who was like a close friend of Daniel, is like, I mean, I don't know exactly what happened. Like, we certainly nothing has been said publicly about really the details of this, but what you do get from that post is like he had a group of friends who like really loved and supported him, and you know he wasn't isolated. There were people supporting him, doing their best. So I don't know what happened, but he definitely had a strong support group.
Yeah, likewise, like very close contact, spent a lot of time together, clear from Grant and others' posts. And they checked on him a day later, then they stopped hearing from him. I mean, usually, often, if someone kind of goes off the map, it's going to be several days before someone checks in on them. But that wasn't the case here, which makes it all the more tragic.
Yeah, yeah. So just yeah, I don't have much to add at this point, but just obviously something that's on everyone's mind, and I think we're all still struggling with it. Anyone, I'm sure everyone who's watching this knows what we're talking about. Daniel Naroditsky, grandmaster, YouTuber, like very prominent American player, just died very unexpectedly at 29 a few days ago. So
Yeah, and shout out to High Ground Chess in the chat. Yeah, and as Jen wrote in her post, I mean, the one thing we can, and other people have said this as well. Like, I can't will myself to playing bullet like Danya, or speaking Spanish or speaking Russian, apparently shooting 3 pointers, which I didn't like. I knew he was a Warriors fan. I didn't know he was like a great shooter in basketball as well. A lot of those things I can't, the ship has probably sailed for me becoming Danya-esque at those things, but the
I'm still
humanity.
I'm still headed for the NBA, Ben. I don't know about you, but
What's that?
I said I'm still headed for the NBA. I don't know about you,
Right.
but I'm working on my jumper. Okay.
Yeah. Um, and of course, he was an amazing blitz player. One of the things I often refer to when people ask me, I'm not a great person to ask for blitz advice, but he wrote a few posts for chess.com,
Yes. He
like
has the Blitz Manifesto, right?
yeah, it's like a 3-part series, the Blitz Manifesto, that has some great practical advice that I don't follow.
Yes, that's a good one. I think there was even like sort of a suggestion that he was going to sort of continue that into a larger series, and I think it might have gotten somewhat truncated. But I mean, any insight from a world class blitz player like Daniel, is well worth reading. Um, but okay, well, let's get into the blitz. So Ben, maybe we sort of just started to get into this briefly, but maybe you could give us sort of a summary of like how you kind of feel about your blitz in the big picture, as in, we talked a little bit. Your over the board rating is around 2150. Your blitz rating is around 2150. So similar, and perhaps on average, blitz ratings run higher. So maybe arguably, you could say, well, okay, if the ratings are the same on a number basis, that means in terms of like blitz versus classical, you're actually a little bit weaker in blitz maybe than like the average person based on your classical strength. I'm not 100% sure that's true, but that seems plausible. Um, so there's that, and then also sort of like your relationship to it in terms of like how often do you play? Like when you play, are you having fun? Are you tilting? Are you trying to improve? Like what's the experience? That sort of thing.
Yeah. So when I play, I try to my best days, I try to use it as a training tool, particularly for openings. As I've written about and you've written about, I do feel like that's sort of the best purpose, at least around my level for Blitz. I'm not going to improve my calculation skill by playing Blitz, but it's a great way to get reps in. And a lot of the tilt issues that people suffer from, have to do with sort of perceptions of how they feel about like self-worth. And I have I haven't when I played Bullet a lot in my younger days, I had tilt issues and I would like anchor to specific ratings and stuff like that. Blitz for some reason has been slow enough where I don't have that particular issue. And I don't go on these huge blitz benders. I made a rule for myself a couple years ago that I review every blitz game after I play it. And I don't really have trouble following it. But
Hmm.
there's no real broader follow through, So I'll look up a move in an opening and say, oh, so that's where I should have done this. But I'm not doing like the spaced repetition to help uh, to help things seep in and to make sure that it doesn't happen again. So it sort of just feels like I've been in the same patterns for the amount I play vacillates, but
Yeah,
the
you
broader.
know what, what's funny about that, Ben? I've got some examples to show you, but there's actually an opening position. So I pulled some positions from your games. You probably don't remember this, but there's an opening position that we discussed offhandedly over a year ago.
Right, exactly.
And and I went into your 10 most recent games. Same position, you made the same mistake, my friend.
Yeah, and when I used to work with Grandmaster Axel Bachman, I'm not getting lessons now, but he's a fantastic teacher if anyone's looking for one. And yeah, you could feel his frustration that sometimes he would have to like give the same lecture for 10 minutes for the second week in a row, basically,
Mhm.
if we're going over some sort of opening line.
Yeah, and that's to me that sort of speaks to process. Like I have my last Saturday post was like a very, very long detailed post about my process for the opening. And to me, it's all about instituting a process for incremental improvement. And it's
Hmm.
okay if the improvement is very slow, but it has to be. So it's like if you imagine your improvement is a flat line, you can have infinite time and you never get anywhere. You just have to tilt it up a little bit, but it got to be going up. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
so you have to have if you want to get that opening improvement, you have to have certain processes in place. Um, I do believe in the spaced repetition. That's not the only thing, but I do think that's a good part of it to do because it's quite efficient actually in terms of time. If you do it, you should spend very little time doing it, but then it actually works within that time. Um, okay, great. Well, I can kind of give you some overall impression. I looked at your games. Where I've got some like positions. I've got some interesting stuff to look at. Some overall impressions. I would say one is you're playing chess on hard mode in many
Yeah.
ways, and Blitz is all about finding ways to play chess on easy mode. And actually, I would argue this is true about all of chess to a large degree. I think like people imagine grandmasters find like many like brilliant sequences, and sometimes they do. They're like grandmasters are good at a lot of stuff. But I think like what's more striking to me, when I talk with grandmasters, I had the opportunity to like go over games with Eugene or whoever it is. is the pragmatism. So it's like it's less so that they're just like displaying this incredible brilliance on every move, and it's more that they're navigating the way in a way that's sensible and makes sense. And so they're putting themselves in a position where they don't have to play brilliant moves to win the game.
Yeah, and so you're speaking specifically about so for because we talked about this a little offline. I've been playing. I have a few openings, but I've been playing the hyper accelerated dragon, which leads to a lot of dragadorfs. So you're kind of you're. I mean, it's double edged, but the engines don't like it.
Yeah.
You,
So this is one aspect of it. So yeah. So we're talking about Ben's repertoire with Black versus E4 specifically. And Ben has, yeah. So the hyper accelerated dragon, I think, actually could be okay. There's maybe some other ways to play it, but lately Ben has been playing what's known as the Dragendorf, which is like a mashup of the dragon and the Nidorf. So you take two of the riskier openings out there, you combine them together, you make even more pawn moves. So it's just about like the riskiest legal way to play the opening in chess. Um, So yeah, I'm not, I know Eugene does this and Eugene is like amazing at the opening. So like there is a point to it. I'm not a fan of this as a Black opening for you and Blitz because so like when you're choosing an opening, you really want to think about like why you're doing it. Like, what is kind of the argument I'm making with this opening? What sort of positions am I going for? Like, why would someone play this? To my understanding, the reason you would play the Dragendorf is it's like if you're a grandmaster and you're playing against someone who's like 22 or 2300, so you're playing against someone who's a pretty good chess player, but you have the Black pieces and you would like to beat them because you're a grandmaster. You would play the Dragendorf to provoke them so severely that they have to attack you. And then when they attack you, you use your grandmaster jujitsu and you like turn it back on them and beat them. So I would say like this is sort of like this is like why someone would want to play the Dragendorf. But Ben, you're playing Blitz against people who are 2100. So like you don't need to mess with them or provoke them. Like they're going to make mistakes. So I would focus on making your own life a lot easier.
so do you have specific opening recommendations? Because again, like I mean, my chest is such a mess that it's hard to even like conceptualize. But in theory, I would be playing the hyper accelerated dragon, and I also play the Streshnikov. By the way, I haven't been playing it, and this is a separate conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Much online because you people when they're cramming for you can see your games. But anyway, I'm more comfortable playing the Dragadov and like your point definitely resonated with me. I end up tanking in these complex
Yeah,
positions.
like you had one game where like the thing about it is like when you make a bunch of pawn moves, your king's in the center. Technically, it can work, but it can also go wrong very easily. So like you had one game where you move your rook up, which looked reasonable, but your opponent had this tempo move on your rook, and then like two moves later, you were lost because your king was stuck in the center. So it's like,
Yeah, Rook H5. I think I
yeah,
remember.
that
Yeah.
that sort of thing can happen very easily in that opening. So like that's the sort of thing I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true. It's just a question of it gets back to like what's the purpose? Because if maybe I just shouldn't play the Dragador full stop. But but it's like am I trying to design a practical blitz repertoire or am I trying to practice?
Oh, so you're saying, like, are you using Blitz to win at Blitz, or are you using Blitz to win OTB?
Right, which has
Or
always been OTB for me.
right? I would say I think they're closer than people think. Like, um, most games at all time controls are decided by simple mistakes: Blitz, Rapid, Classical. So, and most people have a completely garbage repertoire at all time controls. What however you want to look at it. So, if you can develop a good opening repertoire, you have a better repertoire than virtually everyone in every time control. And if you can play reasonable moves consistently and avoid blunders most of the time, you can beat virtually everyone at every time control. So I think they're more alike than people think. Well, let's take a step back though. Like, I mean, what sort of positions do you enjoy? Like open or closed, complex or simple, etc.
I don't. I enjoy complex positions. I don't think I'm particularly good at them. I think I excel at like relatively simple open positions,
Hmm.
something like Queen's Gambit decline structures, something like that, where there's like relatively clear plans, like not totally closed, but but not fire on board either. Like
Hmm.
that kind of going up the middle there, I think is where I'm good at eking out edges in positions like that, or holding if I'm worse.
Okay, great. And one thing I also noticed about your game is, I think people might assume, given that, you're, forgive me, an old guy within the context of chess, we're old guys. And given that you run this tremendous podcast where you have on, like, these amazing grandmasters, figures from chess culture, from chess history, I would guess that people would imagine that you're like this kind of like positional guy with tremendous chess culture, you know, and you play slow, but you have this incredibly deep understanding and so on. You're not really, Ben. You're kind of a trickster. Most of the games you win tactically.
Yeah. I definitely, as a kid, was a tactical player. I feel like the edges have been dulled on that. But those were my instincts growing up, for sure. And now, yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
So based on what you said about like semi-open positions, central control, um, playing somewhat placidly, I would say, but having like some tactical pop in the position. To me, all of this is saying like you should be a 1E5 player.
I was afraid you were going to say that. It's
Yeah.
so brutal. It's so boring.
Well, is it though? I don't think it's. Why is it boring?
Um, what you're doing matches their opponents. It's there's
Well,
just there's howdy, no
only
quit.
for one move, dude. just just 1E5. It's not going to be symmetrical forever. And
All
it's
right, what
actually
am I?
again,
And then after one knight F3, what or two knight F3, what am I playing?
probably knight C6.
Yeah. Um,
I mean, if you don't like
I
1E5, I
find
assume I
the-
assume you're not going to be very enamored with the Petrov if I suggest that.
I've
Even though
dabbled. Actually, I've
even though it
dabbled.
is even though it is a great opening.
Yeah, I've dabbled in the Petrov. I've dabbled in the Steinitz deferred against the Roy Lopez. And the other thing about double king pawn is I'm still like at the club enough level where like you've got to deal with people's pet lines, and I don't know
Yeah.
how.
So here's the thing I would say about E5 about double king pawn. I don't think it's boring at all. I think it's tremendously exciting because E5 it's no training wheels chess. Because if you play, let's say, E6, the French, now F7 is shielded, so it's harder for your opponent to kill you right away. E5 is more ambitious. According to computers, it's the best move. It's the most logical move, but it's all out. It's straight on. Um, so it's actually extremely aggressive. Very often, if your opponent slips up at all, you seize the initiative and kill them. So it can be extremely aggressive. It is, but like I say, it's no training wheels. It's challenging in the sense that it's an open game. It's hand to hand combat. So you do have to know what you're doing to protect yourself. And there are there are a lot of gambits white can try in E4, E5. Individually, no one of them is all that hard to deal with, but there are a lot of them, and if you get hit with one you don't know, you can be in a lot of trouble. So it can be a bit of whack-a-mole, like being ready for all the things white can throw at you. But this is also why it's really important to have a good process where you tilt that line of opening knowledge up over time so that you learn things, you fix problems, and things that you fix stay fixed. Very important to, like, I mean, just important for any player to have that type of process. E5, you really want to be checking off those any holes or leaks in your E5 repertoire and making sure those stay filled. Which
Yeah.
um, yeah. So I would think like E5.
You got anything else, Nate? I don't know if I can do it.
What if you like E5 like and the backbone of your repertoire is the Marshall Gambit? That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
No way.
Why not?
It's too much theory, and like, I mean, if you're playing strong players, like they can draw if they want.
No
It's
one ever does it. Who are you playing? Are you playing Grandmasters?
I mean, I'm thinking more from an OTB point of view, but Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it in blitz, but yeah,
But but
grandmaster.
but I but I mean, like, what sort of opponents are we talking about here?
Say I'm playing some 2000 kid, little bit lower rated, but booked up. That's sort
Does
of the prototypical opponent if I ever make it out of my house.
um, and you're afraid they'll force a draw against you in the Marshall?
I mean, if I played the Marshall, yeah, that would be a concern.
There's this. Have you ever met Steven Weiner?
The name rings a bell.
He's
Yeah,
a, he's someone he played in the Massachusetts. I used to live in Boston, and I'm now in Omaha. He played in the Massachusetts area for a long time. He's very good. He's like I think he's 2400s. He may have been over 2500 USCF. He played the Neidorf every game, pretty much. There's in the Boston area there is nothing but 21 aspiring 2100 kids. That's like all your opponents.
yeah.
When I went to tournaments, I would look at his board. Every single game, his 2100 kid opponents would go into some line of the Neidorf. They'd go to like move like 15 or something, and then their knowledge would end. They would mess it up brutally, and he would win.
Mhm.
Um, there are many forced draw lines in the Neidorf. I talked to him about this. He said, yeah, if someone wanted to memorize a draw line against me, they could. But I think he said Carissa did that against him once in like 10 years, and that was the only time that happened. And people will know Carissa Yip is now much stronger than all of us and is like a genius. So like I would say this is like a totally unrealistic concern. It's never going to happen. If it does happen once out of every like 50 games, like there are worse things than drawing with a 2100 kid.
So you're telling me if I play double king pawn, draw Carissa? Yep.
Well, not any, she's not going to give you a draw anymore. If you had
Oh,
done it
okay.
like 15 years ago, yeah.
Okay. The next Carissa? Yep. If
Yeah,
they're yeah,
maybe on a really good day.
yeah.
Yeah, this whole thing that someone's going to memorize a line to draw you, I've almost never seen it happen. And if you're really scared of that, like there are twists you can add into the repertoire, but it's not really going to happen anyway.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Every time I get ready to interview Jan Gustafsson about his Marshall stuff, I'm just staggered at the amount of theory. So,
Well, he knows a lot, but like my specialty is I'll take that and condense it.
yeah.
Um, like I can,
And plus, you got to deal with like the Italian, just shoot me.
yeah.
It's so brutal.
Man, yeah, it's all in your head though. If you want like an E5 recommendation that's like a little bit weirder and funkier, something I'm really into these days is the value of provocation in the opening. Like, if you can get inside your opponent's head and convince them that they need to beat you, and indeed that they deserve to beat you very quickly, and yet you're actually playing a sound opening, that can be a really good spot to be in.
This
Because
is a
now,
killer lead. What opening are you discussing?
well, what I'm thinking of is the Philidor.
Okay, yeah, I thought of that. That I could see.
Because the Philidor, people think it's passive. The Philidor is actually in a way like the Sicilian, but it's more obscure. And if I, and I'm trying to provoke you. If I play the Philidor, I'm trying to provoke you by playing an opening you think is bad. And I want to make you play too aggressively in a situation you're not familiar with. So that's if
Yeah,
if the
Max
Marshall is just
Prov.
2-2-2 conventional for you, and and you can't, you think it's not boring, but if you think it's boring and you don't want to do it, if you want to get a little freakier with it, you could do the Philidor.
Maybe. Yeah, I know Max Farbarov's had a lot of success with, he's
I think it's a great blitz opening because people aren't ready for it.
yeah,
Some of the play patterns are counterintuitive, and yeah, if you can really wave that red flag in front of their eyes and get them to come at you, that can be a great blitz strategy.
but not to be. So, what would you say the distinction is between that and the Dragador? It's because obviously it's not the most classically principled playing D6 on the second move, but sounder nonetheless.
Well, in the Dragendorf, you make 5 million pawn moves and leave your king in the center. In the Philidor, you don't make that many pawn moves. You castle very quickly. Another really cool thing about the Philidor is like your first 10 or so moves are pretty much scripted. So you can play those moves really fast,
Max mentioned that as well.
which
All
is
right,
really nice.
I'll think about that.
Okay.
the
And
other,
by the way, speaking of like surprise and like, oh, they're going to draw against me and so on, probably like an optimal repertoire for many. Well, I mean, it sort of depends on how ambitious you are, but probably if you're quite ambitious, you should be thinking about something like Marshall 80%, Philidor 20%. This is like a
yeah.
poker mentality.
I mean, like I said, I can still play the Sveshnikov. I mean, I need to brush up, but it's obviously a better opening than the hyper. All apologies to Eugene, but it's a better opening than the hyper
Yeah.
accelerated.
Well, the Sveshnikov's a great opening. It's also an incredibly difficult opening. So yeah, so it's like so all you've bitten off, Ben, are like the two most difficult openings in chess versus e4. So
Yeah, no, but the Sveshnikov, like I played it for years. I had pretty good results. Like there's a lot of
the
cobwebs I was.
Sveshnikov is actually really good. It's just there
Yeah,
are some very long forcing lines that you should know.
yeah, and like you'll play against the Rossalimo like 60% of the time or something. So
Yeah, I mean at this
there's
point,
that.
bishop d5 is just as much of a main line as d4.
Yeah,
That okay. So that's opening. So all right, we can think about that. Let's look at so okay, there's a few things now. I might sort of go off the schedule here because we were going to talk about white openings, and I was going to show you how to crush the symmetrical English. We could do that. And by the way, I just I announced yesterday that I'm doing my next openings course. It's an E4 repertoire for white with excuse me, not an E4 repertoire, a C4 repertoire, an English repertoire for white. So if my post yesterday was introducing you to my preparation after C4 E5, which I don't want to toot my horn here, but I think it's pretty good. I think it's incredibly compact and it's going to let you get amazing positions for
yeah, I'm excited for that.
everyone up to like master level. I'm really happy with that branch of it. Um, so like, I think you do something similar to what I do. So it's like an English setup where you bring the knights to center and play E3. Now you're playing knight F3 move one. I'm playing C4 move one. Um, there's some differences there in what we're ruling out, but those can certainly transpose in many ways. Um, you mentioned that the symmetrical English is what you don't like at the moment. Um, that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I just struggle with the lack of concreteness. It's both a blessing and a curse.
Mhm.
Um, because it's harder to just be losing, obviously. I mean, you're white also. But but so it gives you a freedom to know less theory, but that I end up not
Mhm.
knowing what I'm doing
Mhm.
more
Yeah,
than I.
well, I would say my approach versus the symmetrical is definitely concrete. It's I have specific move by move preparation against everything black can do, and like a lot of it is like quite aggressive.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah,
And what about against the reverse Sicilian? What do you?
against e5, like the c4 e5.
Yeah.
So that's my here. Let's see if we can go over to the board now. Ah,
All right. Huge action here. I'll give the play by play. Nate is standing up.
okay.
Um, and
Here, yeah. This is always I really have to get like a GoPro. Just a moment.
yeah. And so for people watching Substack, we generally like the platform, but they insist that we record on phones, which doesn't allow streaming. So that's why we're doing this analog breakdown. No screen sharing over here.
Yeah, there may be some way to stream, but it's not that easy at the moment.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Nate has an amazing lineup of guests coming up. Agard, Ramesh. As a former poker pro, I'm excited for the one with Dan Smith. Um, but it's going to be interesting to watch how all these guys have to figure out the technology and less so Dan, but like Ramesh and
Okay.
Art are olds like us.
Okay. What do you want to see first, Ben? Do you want to see the versus E5 or versus C5?
Chad, any preferences? While Nate sets up the piece, we'll give it to the first answerer. If there's a preference for symmetrical or reverse Sicilian with one E5. And if no one picks, I will. But all right, let's do symmetrical. Because
Symmetrical?
yeah,
Okay, I'm just setting up the pieces just a moment.
okay.
Okay. So here we go. Symmetrical. I'm going to start. I'm starting with one C4, so it's an English repertoire. Okay. So we're talking about C5. Yeah.
Yep.
Here. Okay. I'm going to play knight C3.
I think the
And
angle was better before, at least for
this
me.
way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, we're working on the format here, people. I'm going to improve this. I actually own a GoPro. I think that's going to be better, but I haven't. Okay. So there's three moves Black can play, or three most popular moves Black can play. Knight C6, Knight F6, and G6. These are the main moves. Um, Now these can transpose, but they can also not. Um, Let me show you the most popular line according to the database. So at the 2200 level on Lichess, following Black's absolutely most popular moves, according to the database, they play Knight C6. We play Knight F3, simple development. They play G6. And then my setup in this repertoire is E3. I'm going for these E3 setups in most places, and my idea is to take over the center with D4. Okay?
Okay.
Again, still following the most popular lines. They play Bishop G7, D4, takes, D6. This is extremely, extremely popular. You'll face this a lot. This is already bad for Black. They already messed it up. This is not good. Combining G6, Bishop G7, and Knight C6 in this way is not good because your knight will get chased. So you're not going to see this in Grandmaster games because it's not good for Black. This is the single most popular thing at 2200 level blitz on Lichess. So we can chase the knight. They usually go to the center. Otherwise, they have to retreat, trade. Now, it's a little bit better to play Bishop E2 than Bishop D3. Bishop D3, you're just looking at that pawn. Okay? Now, they would like to play Knight F6, but then their bishop would probably be trapped. So they usually do and should retreat first. We can castle. Knight F6, Bishop E3, castles, Rook C1. This is the end of my preparation. White has a very pleasant advantage. We have a space advantage, and we have a clear plan. We're going to play probably H3, Queen D2, just taking away this, and then B4, C5, and advance with our queenside pawn majority. Very hard to offer a plan for Black. Okay, so this was like very easy. This is the absolute most popular line for Black on the database at this level. Are we good on that one? Does that make sense?
That looks great. Yeah.
Okay. Let's look at some other stuff. So that was some of the Knight C6. If Knight F6, I'll play Knight F3. Let's see, just for example, I mean, I'm not going to be able to show you guys every single line. I'm just giving you some examples, okay? Knight C6, E3. Let's look at symmetrical. Suppose Black plays copycat chess.
Yeah. We lost the board for a sec. Okay.
Okay, got it. So Black is just copying. Okay. We can trade. They usually take with a pawn. And you can play Bishop E2, but I like Bishop B5. In fact, Magnus has done this often. And something about these E3 English lines, statistically, they're less popular than like the G3 setups. But the people who have done them are people who know what's up, like Magnus, Nepo, like the best of the best, Fabi. So these are underrated, but they're also easy. They're not that hard to play. So if Bishop D6 takes castles, and our idea is just to play against the IQP. So we're going to play B3 and fianchetto, and in the long run, we want to play against that weak pawn. That's another example. Let me show you one more thing. This is the one I'm most excited about because this is the spiciest, Ben. I was really excited to find this.
All right.
C5, Knight C3. So far we looked at one example of a Knight C6 line, Knight F6, G6. This move is actually somewhat problematic for my repertoire because if I try to do my Knight F3, E3 setup, it doesn't work as well against this. If Black has not committed their knight to c6, then my d4 stuff will not be as effective because there's no d5 with tempo chasing that knight. So the whole knight f3 d4 plan, or the knight f3 e3 plan, is not as good against this. And what white often does is plays g3. But the whole concept of my repertoire is to play e3. I'm trying to make your life easy by giving you the same setups everywhere. So I don't want to switch to g3, an entirely different setup and strategy here. So this line's annoying for me. But I found actually an amazing solution that has virtually never been played, either at grandmaster level or at amateur level. But it's actually entirely engine approved and it's very good. It's going to surprise your opponent because like virtually no one has ever played this in chess, but it's really good. Okay.
On move 3?
Yes.
Wow.
We're going to play d4 straight away.
Oh.
Take advantage of the long diagonal. So they're going to take knight f6. We were threatening the rook. And now we have time to bring our bishop out so that we can, after knight c6, we can play queen d2 and arrange our bishop and queen harmoniously. So probably they'll play bishop g7. We get back to business, knight f3, castles. And now we're going to take it into like a Maroczy bind type territory. e4. They probably play d6, so we can't play e5. And here's a good moment to play a3 just to stop any bishop g4 business. So what we've got here is like a Maroczy bind type position, but our pieces are arranged a little bit differently than they would typically be in a Maroczy bind, but not in a bad way, actually quite harmoniously. And we're going to play bishop d3, castles, probably b3, bring the rooks to the center. Maybe bishop h6 at some point. We have a really pleasant space advantage. Black is somewhat restricted. It's not easy to see how black can play actively. I think this is very pleasant for white. And this is almost completely unexplored. This has virtually never been played by anyone. Your opponent can't be ready for this.
All right, very excited about this white repertoire, Nate.
Yeah. So I think this is all coming together really nicely, and it's all pretty easy. So that's a little overview. I mean, of course, there are many other things black could do, right? But those are like a few of the major points, and you can kind of see how it's like it's thematically connected. It's pretty easy. It's like we covered a few of the major points in like 10 minutes. It's really not that big of a deal. But okay, Ben, we only have like a few more minutes here, so I do want to get into one other thing apart from the opening. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is that so I had a look at like about some of your most recent games. So you can clean up this opening stuff for sure. Honestly, like the secret about the opening is it's actually easy. It's just people think it's hard because everyone has such a psychotic bad process and they're trying to memorize all this random nonsense instead of just like doing like a few things that make sense. But the opening honestly is the easy part. What I think is interesting was when I dug into your games, what's like the more profound thing is actually like the positional knowledge. And that's actually where you could use blitz to upgrade not only your blitz game, but potentially your whole chess game. Because when I started to dig into those games, I did find a lot of positions where you were lacking some knowledge of like key positional ideas that would have really helped you. So I have grabbed some of these and I have a sheet.
Wow, that's true.
Yeah, let's do. I'm going to set up. We probably won't have time to get through all of these, but let me do. I'm going to set one up on the board. So just a moment.
Okay. Very dramatic when it goes dark while he's
I know. I set it down on the ground. I kind of don't want to like show people like how like gross my office is in some ways.
like very relatable, yeah.
Ben, say something entertaining to keep the people. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if you can multitask, Nate, because I know we're wrapping up, but I wanted to ask you when you're playing Blitz, like how often are you consciously thinking about the clock? Because that's
Okay.
another area where I'm bad.
Sure. Yes. So my philosophy to time management, whether it's blitz or over the board, is the idea of staying on schedule. Or at least it starts with that. So The average chess game statistically lasts about 40 moves. So the starting point for me thinking about time management is I have to average um, no more than 1/40th of my clock time per move. So I want to play at that type of pace. And if I'm consistently playing slower than that type of pace, I will be headed for time pressure. And if you get into time pressure, it's very likely that you'll blunder and lose, pretty much regardless of who you're playing or how good your position is. So that's like sort of square one is like you cannot play substantially slower than 1/40th of your time per move, or you'll have huge time pressure problems, and that will cause you to lose a lot of games unnecessarily. That philosophy works really well for classical chess. For blitz, it is possible to use the clock much more aggressively as a weapon and aim to play much faster than that to put pressure on your opponent. That doesn't really work, or it shouldn't work in classical OTB chess, because the truth about classical OTB chess is we give people a preposterously long time. It's way too much time. It's way more time than you need to play a decent chess game. So like fast playing your opponent to pressure them doesn't really make any sense. We've all been sort of like slow pilled into believing you need like 90 minutes or 2 hours to play a chess game. It's an insane amount of time, and most people just zone out for most of it. They can't use that time productively. So like in classical chess, I would say just use your own time to play a decent game of chess and think about staying on that 1/40th type schedule. In blitz, playing fast is an enormous weapon. And if you look at the people who massively overperform their classical, their over the board type rating, the people who are like FIDE masters over the board, but they're like 2,800, 2,900 blitz, they're all really fast. So if you can push yourself to play really fast in blitz, yes, it's an advantage. I mean, one way to think about a clock advantage in blitz is it's very similar actually to a material advantage, because it means you'll win an endgame, you'll win a long game, especially if there's no increment. So I'd say if you want to become like a blitz specialist, like a blitz demon, you should think about forcing yourself to play like very fast as often as possible. If you want to be decent as blitz, you can maybe just think about at least not playing slow, certainly not using more on time on average than 1/40th of your starting time per move. Because if you do that, you're going to be screwed regardless and you need time control. Does that make sense? Did that kind of get at your question?
Yeah, that's good advice.
But okay, let's look at a position. Here's position number one. Ben is black. So these are like positional puzzles from Ben's Blitz games. So far, it's been like a Carlsbad structure, like a Queen's Gambit type deal. You've been doing amazing so far. Your opponent did not understand the structure. You built up a tremendous position. But now it's black to play. Yeah, and maybe chat can think about this too.
That's a bishop on g4 and a knight on e4. It's hard to even.
Yes, bishop on g4, knight on e4.
Okay. And it says my connection's unstable. Hopefully I'm okay here.
Yeah, I think you just sort of flickered for a second. It seems to be okay now. Yeah, and
Okay.
and people watching this, you can think about what you would do here for black too. I don't know if you remember this one. So Ben, this is from a recent game of yours.
Yeah, I remember, I think, what I did.
Mhm.
Which, yeah, kind of let him wiggle out. But what I should have done is another question.
Let's see. Are people? I can't actually see the chat. Oh wait, let me use my computer to look at the chat. Let's see if people are suggesting anything.
Okay, although we're losing the board.
Yeah. Okay. No. Okay. I see. Okay. Great. Jacob Wagner says Queen H6. Very well done, Jacob. This is a great move. Queen H6. So the key idea here is that white by allowing these doubled pawns here, white opened the H file, and the idea is to transfer the major pieces. You're going to play Queen H6, and your plan here is Rook E6, like Queen H5, Rook E6, and checkmate. And in fact, white can do virtually nothing to stop this. The engine is already saying like -4 or something very winning for black.
Wow.
Um, one point is that if white plays like bishop e2, you'll show another point of this move with
Yeah, I
knight
was looking
takes
at those
f2,
ideas in the game,
and the
but
queen is coming in, and this is absolutely crushing. Um, so queen h6, followed by a transfer of pieces to the h file, and white cannot stop this attack. In the game, you play knight g5, and
bishop
then bishop
e2.
e2, and this is kind of going in the wrong direction because your knight was perfectly placed on e4 anyway. And I mean, you could actually still go back, and you're still winning, but this was where you started to lose the thread, and you didn't end up winning this game. And if you knew this idea with queen h6, you would have won this game very directly. So what I would suggest doing with these is you can make these into flashcards, and they become sort of positional touchstones and little ideas that you remember. Okay, we're running out of time. Let's do one more. Yeah?
Sure.
All right, I'm going to do one more.
That was actually super instructive. I
Yeah.
mean,
I have tons of these from your games actually, but we'll just do one more for right now.
thanks for grabbing those.
Yeah, no problem. So this next one, you're going to be white. I'm just setting my phone down while I set this up, while I set up the position on my board. We have like a very curious combination of high tech and low tech here because these streams do not support screen share, at least not in a very easy way. So I'm using a physical chessboard, which I don't do very often. But so I'm just setting up the position that I have on my diagram.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just now catching up on a bunch of chat. Um, Copy the FDN right cited the Chessable. We also interviewed today a guy who runs a website called Chess Vision AI that really makes it easy to enable making flashcards. That'll
Yeah,
be
so I'm a
cool.
huge flashcard fan. These are the perfect, like the whole point of these positions, why I've selected these is they're positional concepts that I think are like emblematic or highly useful. So these would be perfect to flashcard. And it's like the idea is that by learning these, you're actually learning positional chess.
Okay. And just to
Okay.
catch up on chat, Magnus Keller had asked what rating he should aim for before starting to attend tournaments.
Well, do you want to take that one, Ben? I've got a take on this one.
Yeah, I have a feeling your take is going to be you'll never feel ready.
Yeah,
Um,
my take is whatever rating you are right now. Like the best
yeah,
time, it's like the best time was yesterday. The next best time is today. It's one of those deals.
yeah, planting a tree. Yeah.
Because what you're going to gain from over the board tournaments is not to storm in there and show everyone how good you are. What you're going to gain is, creating a community of people who are interested in chess. So, the sooner you do that, the better. Now, you may not win a lot of games in your first tournament, but that's okay. I would say make sure you familiarize yourself with like the clock
Sorry,
and
Nate.
the.
I might go dark for a sec. I'm trying to
Okay.
toggle.
Okay, no problem. Just to say, familiarize yourself with the clock and the score sheet. But it's not about going in there and winning your first tournament. It's about getting in there and like making some connections and getting excited about chess. So wouldn't worry about hitting a specific rating. I would just go in there and try to enjoy the process.
Okay. Am I still there?
I can hear you. I can't see you.
Okay. I turned off. I
Okay.
turned off my Wi-Fi. I don't know if that made it
Okay.
better or
Well,
worse.
you know what? We'll just do this position and then we'll call it a day anyway. Okay. Anyone white to play? Do we have any suggestions about a plan for white here? This was a position from one of Ben's blitz games. Let's see, Chad. Anyone? What should we do? Okay. Kevin, you said K A4. Do you mean knight A4? I think you probably mean knight A4, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
So okay, you could do that. I mean, there's a threat of knight B6, but also we would say a knight on the rim is dim. So I wouldn't be super excited to move my knight to the rim for a one move threat. I think black is going to notice that and play like something like rook b8 or like queen a7 and answer my threat, and my knight is on the rim. So not a bad idea, but yeah, I wouldn't, I don't think black's going to fall for that threat, and then I want to keep my knight towards the center of the board. Okay, people observing the a6 pawn is hanging, or undefended at least. And so in the game, I think that was what, Ben was thinking about that a6 pawn. You did play queen a4, but after d4, your knight was driven back. I can't remember if you went to b1 or d1, but either way, that's not great because you're getting pushed back in the center. And the queen over here on the queen side is really not doing much that connects with any sort of like overall game plan that you want to be doing here. So we want to try to understand the position more deeply and make like a more nuanced plan. So a good move for white here is knight g5. And the idea is we're just going after this light squared bishop. So we're going to win the bishop pair. So you may not know in chess, generally having the two bishops is an advantage. It's a subtle advantage, but an advantage nonetheless. So we're going to knock out that bishop. And what that's actually going to do is to leave the remaining light squares in black's position weaker, because black has a lot of space in the center, but they also have advanced a lot of pawns. Their position is somewhat loose, and eliminate that bishop is going to be accentuate that. So for instance, bishop e7 takes, they have to take with the pawn, and now e4. And we strike in the center again on the light squares. We're hammering at those light squares we just weakened. Now, okay, here's the real question to test your chess culture. What classic game should this make you think of? Does anyone in chat know this? Okay, so that's a tough one. There's a very famous Fischer-Karpov game. It's sometimes called the Light Squared Symphony, where Fischer used this strategy. Beautiful game. Check it out. Very similar to this. And now, of course, we could continue the analysis, but you may already sense that black's light squares are weak because there's no f7 pawn. These are getting hit. We have a light squared bishop. Black doesn't. So this is a game plan that is hard for black to answer. Again, this could be a flashcard. This could be a strategic touchstone that you use in many games. But okay, we're already, you know what, Ben, we always go over, I always go over. I think it's a good time to wrap it up. I'm going to send you the rest of my flashcards so you can look at them.
Yeah, well, thanks for making them.
But hopefully everyone learned something for that. Next week, we're going to be back next Friday with Dan Heisman, who, if you don't know him, absolutely amazing coach. So insightful, as far as like players, especially adult players, of all levels. And he's going to be talking about this concept that he coined many years ago that's become, a lot of people talk about in chess. He calls it hope chess. So we're going to find out what he means by that. But for today, everyone, you know what? Sub to Ben's newsletter. Make sure to subscribe to me. We do these every Friday. It's so fun. I wish I could do it all night, but I have to go cook dinner, so I really can't. Any last thoughts?
I'm ready, Nate. We got Mexican food, so
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much, Ben. Any last thoughts?
no, thank you for doing this. Yeah, and thanks for coming, everyone. I'm like Nate. I'm often cooking dinner at this time, but I'll be tuning in regularly. I'm super excited for the lineup you've got.
Okay, awesome. I'll see everyone. Everyone, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next Friday. See you, Ben.
Okay,
Thank you
bye,
so
everyone.
much.